Assalamualaikum and a very good day to all students out there. I hope everyone is in good health and ready for today's lesson. We are still in Unit 2 and today we are going to focus on the listening skill. Do you know who is Robin Hood? Robin Hood is a folk hero from the Middle Ages. He is a legendary person whom people have told stories about for many years. Robin Hood is one who still remains popular. His story has been featured in books, plays, movies and cartoons as well. There are many variations of his stories. Usually, Robin Hood is an outlaw who lives in Sherwood Forest near the town of Nottingham, England. His enemies are Prince John, who is temporarily on the throne because his brother, King Richard the Lionheart, is away in the Middle East fighting in the Crusades, and the corrupt sheriff of Nottingham who abuse their powers and take money from the people who need it. So what did he do? Robin Hood uses his archery skills and his wits to steal the money back and return it to the poor. Accompanying Robin are his faithful followers, the merry men. They include Little John, March the Miller's son, Will Scarlet, Friar Tuck, and Ellen Adele. Robin Hood is one of the famous legendary heroes in the world. Locally, we have Hang Tuah, Hang Jebat, Princess of Mount Ledang, and a lot more. So now it's time for the listening exercise. Tips for listening exercise. It is important to read the questions carefully before you listen to the recording and to think about what sort of words the answers might be. That way, you will know what to listen out for when you hear the recording. Jot down any clue or possible answers first while watching this video so that later it will be easily for you to answer the exercises on Google Classroom. You are going to hear someone talking about the legend of Robin Hood, a character who lived in England around the year 1300. Listen to the first part of the talk and circle the correct words.
Unit 2. Listening. Exercise 1.
Robin Hood was a legendary character from medieval England. Legend has it that he lived in Sherwood Forest, near Nottingham, with a group of friends, finding food and shelter there and stealing from rich travellers who passed by. Because of this, he and his team of men were known as outlaws. That is, criminals who were wanted by the authorities. The man in charge of the area at the time was the Sheriff of Nottingham, and Robin Hood and the Sheriff were famous enemies. However, although Robin Hood and his men were criminals, they have always been considered the heroes of the people, because the legend says that they used to steal money from the rich and give it to the poor.
Alright, how is it? Did you score 5 over 5? Great job. Okay, now we move to exercise 2. Okay, read the instruction. Look at questions 1 to 8 in exercise 3 below and answer these questions. We are moving to exercise 2, but before we proceed, as I mentioned earlier, it is important to read the questions carefully before you listen to the recording and to think about what sort of words the answers might be. That way, you'll know what to listen out for when you hear the recording. Exercise 2. Look at questions 1 to 8 in 3 below and answer these questions. 1. You have already heard the first part of the talk. Can you remember which words complete the first 2 sentences? If not, can you guess? Let us look at the first question in exercise 3. The legend says that Robin Hood would steal money from wealthy gap passing through Sherwood Forest. So because wealthy is an adjective, you can guess that the gap should be filled with a noun. So could it be man, student, woman? Guess it. Exercise 2, question number 2. Sometimes you can work out what kind of answer will go in the gaps. What sort of answers will go in the gaps in questions 3 and 5? Question 3, exercise 3. The legend of Robin Hood has interested people for over gap. So when we talk about over, it has to be a period of time or number of years. Could it be over 2 weeks? Over 4 months? Over 5 years? How about question number 5? King Edward II was King of England from 1284 to gap. So it could be a date which is a number of years later than 1284. Exercise 2, question number 3. Question 4 refers to something being passed down. What sort of things can people pass down? Look at question number 4. Before modern communications, people used to pass down gap using songs and poems. What is the meaning of pass down? Pass down means to give or teach something to your children or people younger than you who will then give or teach it to those who live after them, and so on. So what it could be? Stories, memories, facts. Now, read the rest of the questions in exercise 3 and try to guess or predict what kind of information is missing. Good luck!
Exercise 3.
Robin Hood was a legendary character from medieval England. Legend has it that he lived in Sherwood Forest, near Nottingham, with a group of friends, finding food and shelter there and stealing from rich travellers who passed by. Because of this, he and his team of men were known as outlaws, that is, criminals who were wanted by the authorities. The man in charge of the area at the time was the Sheriff of Nottingham, and Robin Hood and the Sheriff were famous enemies. However, although Robin Hood and his men were criminals, they have always been considered the heroes of the people, because the legend says that they used to steal money from the rich and give it to the poor. People have been fascinated by the legend of Robin Hood for over 700 years. However, nobody knows for sure whether Robin Hood was a real person or a myth. And if he was a real person, then who was he? Most of the evidence we have comes from songs and poems that were written from around the year 1400 onwards. In the days before television, radio, and even books, news and stories would be passed down in this way, and a character called Robin Hood was certainly very well known as a famous outlaw at that time. Another source is the official records of the period, one of which says that a man called Robert Hood was working as a servant for King Edward II, who ruled from 1284 to 1327. One problem that historians have, however, is that Robin or Robert and Hood were very common names in medieval times, so it's difficult to prove whether any of these men was the Robin Hood of the legend. Although Sherwood Forest is generally assumed to be where Robin lived, several early poems also indicate that an outlaw of the same name lived in South Yorkshire, which is a little way north of Nottingham. As the two areas are quite close, and Robin may have moved around to escape the authorities, it's quite possible that he lived in both areas. We don't even know exactly when he lived. We have the official record connecting a Robert Hood with King Edward II, but later theories connect him to a different king, King John, who ruled a whole century earlier. Despite the confusion, Robin Hood and the other characters in the legend have remained popular until today, and they attract thousands of tourists to Nottingham and Sherwood Forest every year. Many films and TV series have been made about the outlaw who fought for the common people and against the rich rulers of the time. There is even an organization in modern-day New York City called Robin Hood, which continues Robin's mission by giving financial support to the poor. Although we may never solve the mystery of who Robin Hood really was, his legend lives on.
Have you jotted down any important information or details? That's good. So now, head over to your Google Classroom and check for the exercise. Don't forget to hand in your work. Bye.